This is a Chapter 4 test review. This is one of our longer reviews because it's all of Chapter 4, okay? So the length of your quiz is not necessarily longer, but it is going to cover more material. So the purpose of this review is to really just kind of narrow down what you need to know. All right, the first couple things, you do not need to write this down, but it will be on the video for you guys to go back and watch. You need to know 3 formulas. Slope-intercept form, you've got to know what it's called, okay? So again, don't write this down. Just look up here. Slope-intercept form, let's say it together. Y equals mx plus b. The slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so those are the 3 formulas. Okay, now on the first one, and again, you'll have like one question on a quiz or a test. Y equals 2x plus 1, but pay attention to the directions. Graph the linear equation using a table. You won't have the table outline on your quiz, okay? But just remember, it's an XY table. Okay, so this is something that you would do on your work. Go ahead and come up with your XY table. You need 3 values for X, plug them in, and solve for Y. Okay, I did -1, 0, and 1. If you do -1, 0, 2, that's fine also. You need a negative value and you need a positive value. If I plug in -1, what do I get for Y? -1. If I plug in 0, what do I get for Y? 1. If I plug in 1, what do I get for Y? 3. Okay, so I just come over here, -1, -1, 0, 1, 1, 3. What now? Oh, absolutely. And if you put 2, it would have been 5. And it's the same exact line. Okay, so I'm checking out your table, I'm checking out your line, and we're good to go. Okay, so now you're going to graph using slope and y-intercept. Okay, using slope and y-intercept. So when you first look at this equation, what are you checking for?
If it's a slope-intercept or...
Yeah. Is it ready to graph?
Yeah.
Is it ready to graph? Is it in, like Mason said, slope-intercept form? No. So you have to get it in slope-intercept form first before you can graph it. Go ahead and do that, just one step, and then you'll be ready to graph it.
Is it this way?
How do I get this in slope-intercept? -6. Very good. So I -6 to the other side. Y equals 5x minus 6. Now, what is M?
5.
What is B?
Oh.
-6. What is my first point on the graph? Down to a -6. B is my y-intercept where the line crosses. So that's my first point. Now, from this point, where do I go? Where do I go? Up 5. Then where? Over 1. So that's why it's a good idea to write the slope as a fraction so you don't forget to run 1. Up 5 over 1, and now you can draw your line through the points, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. Mine's not perfect, but it's close, okay? All right, so graphing using slope and y-intercept. Mason, is that helping at all? The M and the B, okay? Now, on the next one, it's going to say graph it using intercepts, plural. That means X and Y. All right, go ahead and start working on that. Okay, so you're going to write it twice. You're going to write it twice. And I see that a lot of you are being really thorough on like showing, you know, this is 0 and whatnot. That's fine. I also see some people saying, well, if I'm solving for X, that Y goes away. And they just like cross it out. Okay, and now it's 2X equals 12. Divide both sides. And X equals 6. But then that's an ordered pair, right? 6, 0. Okay, so I just write 6, 0, so I know that's an ordered pair. Now, if I'm solving for Y, what do I plug in for X? 0. So that like goes away. Whoops, I'm going to press the wrong button. All right, so divide both sides by 3, and Y equals
0.
4, but then it's 0, 4, because I plugged in 0 for x and I got a 4 for y. Now I'm ready to graph it. Okay, so where would my first point go? I honestly can do either one first, it doesn't matter. Where would my point go on the x-axis? Just tell me. On the x. On the x. Over 6. Right 6. And then on the y, up 4, plot my points. Okay, how do we do? So that is something that I forgot to mention, one of the formulas. You will need to know the formula called standard form. You don't have to write this down, it'll just be on the video. Standard form is what we see with the intercepts, and that is ax plus by equals c. What that means is my term with the x and y are on one side, and then my number is by itself on the other side. When it's in standard form, it's a lot of work to get it in slope intercept, so I can use intercepts like I did here to graph it instead.
Wait, that's
okay?
What that is?
Yes. These equations, before I solved for them, these equations were written in what we call standard form because it was 2x plus 3y equals 12. So x and y were on the same side. So when you see an equation in standard form, x and y intercept is the best way to do it. Okay, now we're going to find slope. These are two separate problems, number 1 and number 2. You're going to find slope with ordered pairs and find slope from the graph. Okay, so this shouldn't take too long. With ordered pairs, we use our formula. Yep. With ordered pairs, we use the formula. With the graph, we do rise over run. Okay, so m equals, say it with me, -6 minus 4 over 10 minus -8. All right, I told you when we first started learning these, you're going to see a lot of double negatives. Was I right? I mean, it just pops up all the time. Double negative is a positive, -10 over 18. But then I can reduce that, -5 over 9. Okay, slope. Who got -5 over 9? Good.
I'm getting it now.
Good. Now, slope on a graph, let's just count it because I know you don't have this. All right, between the 2 points, how many do I rise? 1. And then how many do I run? 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is 1 over 4. Huh?
Oh.
On the graph, I rise 1 and I run 4, 1 over 4. Yes, 2, that's what I was saying. 1 over 4 doesn't reduce. Okay, those were two different problems. All right, now proportional relationships. Now, again, these are two different problems. If the answer is yes, you must give me an equation. An equation will have a slope, a rate, okay? So how do you get from x to y on each of these? If it's the same operation, then you have a proportional relationship. Then you would just give me the equation, okay? And then on the graph, there's one criteria, but we'll get to the graph here in a minute. Okay, so what do you see here on the table? We're not really going to have a whole lot of time on this one. Is it proportional?
No.
How do I get from 20 to 4? Divide by 5. Divide by 5. So it is yes because I'm dividing by 5 on each one. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 60 divided by 5 is 12. So now I want you to come up with the equation.
Wouldn't it be y equals?
You need to come up with the equation. The equation is not y equals 5x. It's not y equals 5x because you're dividing by 5.
Wait, is that the answer?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep, okay. So if you say divide, it's going to be, starts with an F. Fraction. It's going to be a fraction. And because you said divide by 5, it will be 1/5. 1/5 x. Okay? All right, next one. Is it proportional?
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Because it goes through the origin.
It goes through the origin. Okay? But now you need the equation since it's yes.
I know.
Y equals, does anybody know how to find the find the slope? I gave it away. Rise over run. You can literally go to any point. I would start at the origin. If it's yes, just start at the origin. Now to the very next point where it crosses, I go down 1 over 1. So it's negative 1x. Okay? Y equals negative 1x.
So if it does that, so you don't go.
Yeah. Literally, all you have to do is rise over run from the origin. So if it was going the opposite direction, like there was a line going like this, okay, I would have gone rise over run up, and it would have been positive 1x. Okay? Or if it was going like this, like super steep, like this, then I would have gone up 2 over 1. It would have been 2x. You see that? So, I mean, I could, like, change this up some. Or I could have, no, anyway. All right, so that's proportional. Now we're going kind of back to the basics on this one. Kind of simple. Just real quick, what is the slope and y-intercept? What's the slope and y-intercept on this? All right, is my y-intercept negative 8?
No, it's positive.
Yeah, because what do I have to do? This is not ready. What do I have to do to solve for y?
Add 8 to both sides.
Add 8 to both sides. Okay. Y equals 5x plus 8. Now I'm ready. Kelsey, what's my m?
5.
5 over 1 or just 5. Either one's fine. And what's my b? Allie, what's my b? Yep. Good job. 5 and 8. That's on your quiz.
I think I'm gonna score 100 on this quiz.
I hope so. All right, now this one's a tough one. This one you're gonna kind of remember. Does anyone remember what am I looking for parallel lines? If I say yes, they're parallel, what am I looking at?
Equal values.
The variables.
The same what?
Y.
X and Y.
Same L.
The same slope. Well, in order to know the slope, they have to be in slope-intercept form. Okay? So, y minus 6 equals 3x. What do I have to do on that one?
Add 6.
Yep.
3x
So y
plus
equals 3x plus 6.
This other one.
Okay? So I'm looking for the other one to have a slope of 3. All right? Give you a minute to do that one. Okay, so you got to minus the 14 first.
And then you got.
And then you've got 2y equals 6x minus 14.
Then you do the divide 2y to all 3 sides.
So when I divide everything by 2, all right, we won't say it yet. Like, what did we get when we did 6x divided by 2?
3x.
3x. I know, sorry, I hate that we have to go kind of fast on this. Okay, now that I have my 2 equations, are they parallel?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think? Are they parallel?
Yes.
Why?
Because they have the same slope.
They have the same impact.
Yes, same slope, okay? So your work was putting them in slope-intercept. So if all you say is yes, same slope, but you actually didn't put them in slope-intercept, then you're guessing, okay? So you do have to show that work. All right, we're going to skip that one because we've already kind of done that. Let's write the equation. In order to write this equation, I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. Okay, so if you know what you're looking for, this is fast, like really fast. There's actually no math except just counting. Like, that's all you're doing. Nope, you don't even have to do... Oh, I see what you're doing. I know it's kind of goofy to, like, look at the screen, though. How can I find the slope?
Count rise over run.
Just count rise over run. So can we count it together?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Is that positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay, over 1, 2. Okay? So now write that into your equation. And slope-intercept. Y equals, what's my slope?
Negative 3 over 2.
-3/2x. But now I need a b. I need a y-intercept. Don't say it out loud. Look up at the graph. Don't say it out loud. Write it in your equation. Write it in your equation. Where? Now, neither one of these points cross the y-axis, but can I keep following it? Where did it cross the y-axis? -6. -6. Okay? All right, do you guys see that? You might want to go back on the video and watch this. What now?
So you gotta keep going to the cross.
Till it crosses the, yes.
Oh yeah, and they really ain't even need me. They just asked me that I have a badge.
Okay.
What'd you say?
All right, so now I need to write an equation from ordered pairs. I still need a slope and a y-intercept. Can I find my slope using ordered pairs?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and do that. And now put it into your equation. Okay, so we're going to go m equals 5 minus 8 over -4 minus 0. So I get -3 over -4. So now I plug it into my equation. Y equals -3 over, positive 3. I was just telling Allie that. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. 3 over 4x. But now I need a y-intercept. Do I need point slope to find it? Nope, because I have an ordered pair that has 0 for x. So it's +8. Now, if I didn't have an ordered pair, I would need point slope. Okay? Like, not this one, I'm going to skip that one. Let's do this one. Okay? Now, I solved part of this for you on this one. Now, you need this equation in slope-intercept form, but look here. I gave you the slope, so you don't have to solve for m. Okay? But now, you don't know your b. Okay, so I know my slope, so I'm going to plug it into point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, so I just need to pick an ordered pair. It can be the first one or it can be the second one. I'm just going to pick the first one. This is my x1, y1. Oops.
By any chance, is my ID badge here?
Okay, so then it's going to be y minus 6 equals m, which they told me, slope of -2. -2 times x minus -4, because my x1 was -4. Okay, so now I'm going to I changed my double negative to a positive, and now I distribute -2 times x and -2 times 4. Y minus 6 equals -2x, and what's -2 times 4? -8. Now I have one more step to get this in slope-intercept. I need to add 6 to both sides, and I get y equals -2x minus 2. And this is my equation in slope-intercept. All right, so now we're going to kind of back it up. And now this problem asked me for point slope. Okay, so point slope is a little easier because all I have to do is take these values and plug it into my point slope, which is the one that we just did on the last slide. So I would say y minus y1. Remember, this is x1, y1. So I'd say y minus y1 equals m, which is my slope, times x minus x1. The only thing I need to do here now is change this double negative, and I've written it in point slope. So you just have to remember for the quiz and test, if I say point slope, all you have to do is substitute. Now going back to the other slide, if I say slope intercept, Slope-intercept, that means go all the way to the end and solve it. All right, last problem, parasailing. We had a parasailing example in our 4.7 lesson. And just remember, the rate is not in here, okay? The rate is the same as the 4.7 example, in that we were dropping 10 feet per second. So where y is the final, or the height, or the final amount, 10 would be my rate because it's dropping 10 feet per second. And 5 seconds have passed. Okay, so I would just multiply. If 5 seconds have passed and it's dropping 10 feet per second, it has dropped 50 feet. Okay, but you are still 55 feet above the boat. So how high up were you to begin with? You would add that to what you already found, and your final height, your starting height was 105 feet. Okay, so that's just like the example from 4.7. All right, and then we do have the engineer's example also, and again, this one was from our notes. The constant rate is what allows me to actually put this into an equation. If it wasn't a constant rate, if different variables were affecting their speed, I couldn't do this. If they're digging, so my rate, okay, if they're digging a 2,500 foot long tunnel, but they still have 1,000 feet left, we can subtract those values to figure out how much they dug in 5 months. So 2,500 minus 1,000 is 1,500 divided by 5. So they're digging 300 feet per month. Okay? So if they're digging 300 feet per month, I can come back up here and I can say, well, my final amount was 2,500, so I can divide 2,500 divided by 3, and it's going to be 8 1/3 months, okay, or about 8 months and 10 days, roughly. Okay, so I just go back and I divide the 2,500 divided by my rate to find 8 1/3 months. All right, and we've pretty much covered now everything that'll be on your quiz and test next week, but we will continue reviewing also into next week.